Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe and this is episode 79. Now, I was just looking, it has been a couple of weeks since I last recorded an episode. 26th of April was the last one that I put out. A lot has happened since then, people. I had to take myself away to my in-laws' caravan for 4 days to work on a massive behind-the-scenes project. I've completely revamped the way that new members come to work with us inside Clan Monroe. I did a little survey on the people on my mailing list, basically saying, look, you have been on my mailing list for a long time. You regularly open my emails, but we're not yet working together. Why not? And most people said price, right? Cost, price. And the thing is, we spend a lot of money on shit that we don't need. We waste a lot of money on things like, things that give us short-term pleasure, alcohol, nights out, etc. And people generally, they don't see their health as an investment. Like they don't, not just that, but with the demographic that I work in, I work with a lot of people who are used to not spending a lot of money on their health. They pay £6 a week to Slimming World, for example. As far as they're concerned, that's how much that kind of thing should cost. And it is just because Slimming World's created that expectation. So I've changed the way that I do things. I took that feedback into account. I obviously can't decrease the cost of what I do because as far as I'm concerned, and the people I work with as well, who, when they do work with me, realize the value of what we do. I can't charge less for what we do because it's not worth less. It's worth more, if anything. So what I did do was make things more accessible. So no longer does anyone have to join the Monroe Method and go straight into a monthly subscription. Everyone who comes into the Monroe Method will now start on a 15-day trial for just £15. That's it. No catch, no nothing, no sneakiness, no contracts, no automatic payments. You come in, you pay £15, you do your 15-day trial. At the end of the 15 days, you will have a decision to make. You will have to either intentionally sign up after that to keep things going or do nothing and let it come to an end. So this is the new way of doing things. So I'm going to be talking a lot more about that in my content and my emails, and hopefully, because the thing is, all these people who think, haven't joined because of the cost and whatever, now I've made it ridiculously accessible. Many of those people will come in, realize that it's worth the cost that they didn't like the look of initially, and they will continue. So it's just, when you operate a business, it's just about continually reviewing and assessing and improving and just breaking down those barriers. And how can you make it easy as possible for this person to access these services, because it has the potential to change their lives. Anyway, never mind that. So today I'm going to talk about something. A friend of mine, just so you know, like I'm recording this on video now. There's my friend there. I'll tell you why he's there behind me, and I'll explain to those who are listening on audio. But if for maybe the last 5 or 6 episodes, I've got a new way of doing this. I record it on camera. I then extract the audio. The audio gets uploaded as a audio podcast to wherever you're listening to it. And the video goes on to YouTube. So if you ever fancy watching the video version of these, if you are the type of person that spends time on YouTube, you can find it on YouTube, just the exact same, Monroe Method Clancast. Go find me, subscribe to me. You'll get notifications when I put the episodes go out at the exact same time on both platforms, just to give people an alternative option. And it's a nothing exercise for me. Like it's no additional work at my end. Whether I'm just recording myself talking or I'm recording myself filming, all I'm doing is extracting the audio. So it makes no difference at my end. So it's a no-brainer thing to start doing this on video and put it to YouTube as well. So anyway, back to the point. A good friend of mine, Sam McKenzie, he has a business called Science to Health. He is a performance nutritionist. So he works with a lot of professional boxers, MMA fighters. He worked with the Olympic wrestling team. He's a big deal, basically. Don't tell him I said that, though. I've known him for 6 years. I met him at a conference in Dublin. He came up to me saying, "Oh, you're that guy off Instagram." And then it just kind of went on from there. We formed a friendship. I'm going down to Leeds next weekend, actually, to watch one of his boxers, Jack Catterall, fight Josh Taylor again. Hopefully he gets the decision this time after it being stolen from him last time when they fought in Glasgow. So yeah, he has set up his own group coaching program, completely different to what I do. And he asked me to go in and do a talk for his members. Now, this talk was in the style of a podcast. I might upload it as a podcast episode, actually. It wasn't in the style of a podcast. I mean, it was. It was in the style of an interview, right? We were both on camera. He was asking questions. I was answering. But I wrote some things down. So he sent me the video back because I was like, I'm saying a lot of stuff here that could be very good content later on. So today, we're going to talk about your relationship with food, which we have done many times in the past, but we're going to talk about it from a different perspective, a different angle, because that's mostly what my job is, right? It's explaining the same things over and over again, but doing so from multiple different directions, because different people will click with things when they're explained in different ways. So you hear people talking about relationship with food all the time, right? What is a relationship with food? It's the same as a relationship with anybody. You know, you have a relationship with a friend, with a partner, with your kids, with your body, with your bosses, with your work. A relationship with food is, how do you get on with something? How do you get on with food? Are you able to enjoy it? Do you abuse it? Do you punish yourself with it? Like what kind of relationship do you have with the foods that you eat? So I was talking to Sam, and we were talking, I kind of started talking about, like, when you are born with no preconceptions about anything, right? And even as you get older, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, you do not think of food as good and bad. You do not think of food as healthy and unhealthy. All you know is that plates of food get put down in front of you and you eat them. Some of them taste awesome, some of them don't. There's no emotion attached to it. There's no habits or behaviors or mindset or anything attached to it. You do not react emotionally. You know, you don't feel bad because you've eaten something. You don't beat yourself up because you've eaten something. Like, you don't have any of that. You have complete and utter food innocence as a child. Our relationship with food is something that's taught to us. It's given to us by parents, grandparents, the media, people that we spend time with, friends, family, people that we work with, comments that people make. And over time, like, some of us are affected by that and some of us aren't. So imagine right at the very beginning, nothing's good, nothing's bad, nothing's healthy, nothing's unhealthy. You just eat things. They taste great, you enjoy them, and that's fine. Food is not at the forefront of your mind. It's not this kind of constant nagging thing. It just is. And then something happens. You know, maybe you hear a parent, like I did, you know, talking about food in a negative way. Oh, I've eaten so much shit this weekend. I've eaten so much crap. I've eaten so much junk. I've eaten so much rubbish. I'm such a pig. And you pick up on that. And then you hear someone say something, you know, or even a parent says it to you. All you've done today is eat shite. Go eat some of this, go eat some of that. That's parents starting to give you their relationship with food. And this is where your relationship with food comes from. You start to learn it. You start to adopt it. Sorry, for those watching this, I didn't finish telling you this story about my Alexa. So for the last 6 years, I have been taking screenshots of pictures of Sam and photoshopping them. So there was a period when he had a baby where that was a lot of photoshopping Sam's head onto the baby's head onto Sam, swapping Sam's head and his wife, making his head really big. And I've got 6 years worth of edited pictures. And when he asked me to do this talk, my plan was to print off a couple of my favorites and have them in frames somewhere behind me in my office. But I ran out of time, and then I was like, oh, I'm sure I could make some kind of slideshow on Alexa. So you can't see it because it's blurred, because it's off behind me. But there is a rotating slideshow of my kind of greatest hits of Sam's edited pictures. So that's what's going on here. There will be one that pops up that's just his face. I can't remember what he did, but he put something on his Instagram stories. I took a screenshot, and it keeps popping up. Anyway, back to the point. It was funny. I actually, when we did the talk, I was like, Alexa, screen off. And I put the screen off. And then when he was asking me a question, I muted my mic and kind of covered my mouth and just went, Alexa, screen on. And then mid conversation, a big picture of his face just popped up. And the two of us were trying to be professional. I had to switch it off again because it was very distracting. Anyway, back to the point. So your relationship with food is given to you. It's taught to you. You do not create it by yourself. It comes to you from other people, from outside influences. That's the picture I'm talking about. It comes to you from outside influences. Like you can't just invent it yourself. You have to hear it from somewhere. You don't just wake up one day with absolutely no outside influence, pick up a bar of chocolate and say, this is bad. It comes from elsewhere. It's taught to you. It can be taught to you at school. When my son was in primary one, he came home proud as punch one day because he understands what I do. He knows who I help. He understands, we've had a good talk about it. He understands what weight is. He understands how nutrition plays a part in our weight and all those things. And he came home from school one day, proud as punch, to tell me about what he was doing today. We were learning about healthy and unhealthy foods today. And my heart just sank because it was a conversation I was hoping not to have with him until he was a little bit older. But here he is in primary one. They did this exercise where the teacher had two baskets at the front of the class. One was healthy, one was unhealthy. And then she had all this plastic food, right? Pizza, burgers, fruit, vegetables, cake, biscuits, sweets, etc. Scattered all about the floor. And all the children had to pick these foods up off the floor and put them into the healthy and unhealthy baskets. So, she's like, what, bread? Where does bread go? And then you've got all these kids, primary one, 5, 6 years old. Unhealthy. Yep, that's correct. Bread is unhealthy. Like, that's fucking horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And the thing is, to many of you listening to this, that might sound completely harmless. That might sound completely normal. Some of you will understand how damaging that is and how disordered that is. And if there's any fellow professionals listening to this, for whatever reason, that'll make your stomach churn. That is how terrible relationships with food are born. That is how disordered eating is born. If you are at that young, impressionable age and you are being taught, and I'll tell you the worst of it in a second, and you are being taught that at a young age, you are being set down a terrible path, not just with the foods that you eat, the way that you balance your diet, but also what do these things influence? They influence your health, they influence your weight, not just your health, but your mental health. I mean, how many of you listening to this right now, how much of your mental capacity does food and eating and thinking about food, preoccupation around food influence you on a daily basis? So, imagine that in a classroom in primary one. Where does this go? Unhealthy. That's right. Chocolate is unhealthy and it's horrendous. You're teaching children black and white thinking. You're teaching them dichotomous thinking in primary one. That's the first year of primary school. For anyone who is not in Scotland that doesn't do primary schools, what do you do? Preschool, nurseries, preschool, primary school. Do you call it primary school? I don't know. P1, first year of school. And this is the worst part, right? This is where it gets really bad. All of the foods that they were putting in the unhealthy basket is stuff that they get at school. Pizza, unhealthy. What's for lunch today on the menu? Oh, it's pizza. Burgers, unhealthy. What's for lunch today? It's burgers. Ice cream, unhealthy. What do we get after our main meal today? Oh, it's ice cream. How fucking confusing is that? Wait a minute. I can't eat that pizza because that's unhealthy. We were just in the class putting those foods in baskets. Why are we eating this? This is unhealthy, guys. We are unhealthy. That's awful. And this is where our relationship with food comes from. Because before that, my son was completely innocent to that stuff. He did not know about healthy or unhealthy. I mean, he probably knew what healthy meant at the ages of 3 and 4, right? But they don't really care too much about it until, you start going into structured education and getting taught this stuff. But He at one point he was completely innocent. Now he's lucky because he has me, and I will do my damnedest to protect his relationship with food. So we've already had these conversations. The two of them understand that all foods are healthy. All foods are healthy. All foods have their place in your diet. Chocolate, the ice creams, the pizzas, the burgers, all of them have a place in your diet. If you ate nothing, and I've explained to them, like, ice cream can be part of a healthy, balanced diet. If you ate ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that would not be healthy because your body wouldn't be getting the things that it needs, because ice cream doesn't contain all the things that your body needs. And that's the angle that I come at it from with the kids. So they will be fine. I know they will, because I will make sure of it. But other people aren't so lucky. Other people don't have nutritionists as parents. Many people have yo-yo dieters as parents. Yo-yo dieters whose education around nutrition has come from Slimming World, who think of things as sins that are bad for you, and healthy extras that are good for you, and free foods that you can eat as much as you want. Fill your boots. Doesn't matter how full you are. Go for it. Smash it. That's the level of education that many parents are passing on to their children. And this is why Slimming World and Weight Watchers and everything in between will have a never-ending stream. Like, for Slimming World and Weight Watchers, they will continue for decades to come, because there's never going to be a shortage of customers. That's what I'm trying to say, right? The customer shortage will never be an issue when it comes to weight loss, because everybody is getting so fucked up by the outside world, by all these influences, that people will always have weight problems. Always. So the customers aren't the issue. Slimming World and Weight Watchers' biggest issue is marketing. Like, the customers are there. They just need to convince them to come in, and they'll continue forever, and they will continue to ruin people forever. And the more parents that they ruin, indirectly, the more kids that they're ruining. And because the kids saw the parents go to Slimming World and Weight Watchers, when they come of age and they decide that they've got weight that they want to lose, well, my mum used to go do this thing, so I'm going to go do that as well. And so the cycle continues and never, ever ends. So, coming back to the purpose of this today. In this talk that I was doing for Sam, this is what I started talking about when I said, you're not born with a relationship with food. It's taught to you, it's given to you. What we want, and the more years that go by, the more time that goes by, the more diets that you put yourself through, the more people that you listen to, the more things that you hear, the more fear mongering that they do in the media. For example, like, go back 10, 20 years, people who were just starting to diet would start cutting fat out their diet, would start cutting sugar out their diet, because those were the things that were getting the blame back then. For people who are just starting to diet today, what's it all about today? Processed foods, blood sugar, managing your blood sugar, avoiding blood spikes. That's what it's all about now. So it's like a generational thing where the decade that you got into weight loss, what was the dominant thing then? So when my mum first started dieting, it was all about fat. Everybody had to reduce the fat in their diet. So her kind of go-to approach for a long time was, when I go into diet mode, it means going super low fat, Ryvita and tuna and boiled fish, the Weight Watchers boiled fish in a bag with smash. And it was always cancelling fat from your diet. For people born a couple of generations later, it was all about sugar. So going on a diet for them meant cutting out sweets, chocolate, cakes, donuts, ice cream, etc. Cutting those things out of their diet. And like I say, today, since 2022, 2023, Zoe coming onto the scene, blood sugar being a big topic, that's what everybody's into right now. So for people who are starting to diet over the last couple of years, just getting into the weight loss world because they want to lose some weight, they're going to be still kind of related to sugar, but it's going to be all about avoiding spikes in insulin. And it's fucking, it really gets to me. And I had a conversation with a friend on Instagram last night saying, I'm so glad I follow people like you, because Without people like me and you in this world, like what would the general public be left with? They would be left with a bunch of fucking unqualified idiots walking around supermarkets telling you everything you eat is shit. Carnivores are walking around supermarkets showing you all the processed foods, telling you how shit they are. Um, the organic crowd are walking through the supermarkets telling you, don't eat this. You don't want to have this one because this is full of this. Take the organic one because this has got this in it. And that's all it is now. Just arseholes walking around supermarkets shaming you. Food shaming. Take Eddie Abu for example. He is a qualified psychiatric nurse who just decided he was going to start walking around supermarkets giving nutrition advice. Like imagine me in 2019 just qualified as a nutritionist and I decide to start giving fucking mortgage advice, financial advice. Hey guys, I'm a qualified nutritionist and here's why you're in debt. It's fucking stupid. However, people make these links between medical backgrounds and health and nutrition. Oh, he's got a nursing degree. He must know nursing degree, medical. Oh, he must know stuff about the human body, so he must know stuff about diet. And for some reason, when it comes to diet and exercise, people think it's all the same thing. People think personal trainers are qualified to give nutrition advice. They're not. People come to me, a nutritionist, and ask for training programs. I'm not a personal trainer. It's just the assumptions that people make. And Eddie Abu, in his Instagram bio, like he actually puts it in his Instagram bio as if it's some kind of justification for what he does. When all he's doing is walking around supermarkets telling you that everything you eat is shit. The food that you're giving to your kids is shit. You should feel terrible about what you're doing. He is food shaming and then starts up a membership group at £25 a month, fills it with thousands of members. He's making hundreds of thousands of pounds a month. To what? To food shame people. He's got a cult following of people. Do you know how it works? People wait for these people to come along. Like there are extremist groups everywhere, right? There are people who are very extreme against fat, very extreme against sugar, very extreme in favor of the keto diet, very extreme in favor of veganism, right? There are extremist groups for everything. And all it takes is for one of these kind of pro whatever it is, whatever these group of people is into, to rise through the ranks, to come out and do the extreme videos, do the shouting, do the swearing, do the stuff like walking around the supermarkets and using the catchphrases. And what happens is all these people who have held on to these beliefs, whether they're right or wrong, and they've never let go of them, they want to believe this thing. It does not matter what anyone else says. I'm right. Sugar is the devil. Sugar is poison. Sugar is fucking awful for you. Nobody should eat it. And they won't change their stance on it, regardless of how much evidence they're presented with. They're just waiting for that one voice to come through. And as far as they're concerned, agree with them. And they go, that's the one for me. I am going to hitch myself onto that wagon. That is the man for me. I'm going to follow him. I'm going to join his cult. And that's what it is. Here is someone who reflects my extremist views, who has now become famous, and now I can get involved with him. And it feels like you're part of something. I've managed to find a bunch of like-minded, it's like people who think the earth is flat earthers. They group together because it does not matter how much evidence you present them with. You could take them up to space and show them the planet. It would not matter. They would not change their minds on it. It doesn't matter what you present them with. So instead of looking for the truth, of looking for answers, of trying to do research and find like a balanced approach, they instead look for people who think like them. I'm not going to change my views no matter how much evidence you present me with, so I'm just going to find people who have the same views as me. It's fucking stupid. But there are many stupid people in the world. And so this guy comes up through the ranks, gets the 1 million and odd followers, starts collaborating with celebrities. Money continues to make money. And those are the guys who end up doing the best. But anyway, and yeah, the point there was like the guy. That's someone who is out there ruining people's relationship with food because here, you've now decided that you're going to listen to this person, and the thing is, like, maybe you saw one video and he was talking about cereal, and you went, cereal's awful. I already know that. I know that piece of information. And here's a guy talking about it. Oh, he's a qualified nurse. He's been to uni. He's got qualifications. He must know what he's talking about. But then you follow him, you start agreeing with him, and you've already decided that you're going to join this cult. And then he talks about bread, and you go, shit, I eat that bread. I agreed with the cereal thing because that's a belief I already had. But now he's attacking bread. Fuck, now I need to start thinking about bread. Maybe that bread I'm eating is poison. Where should I get my bread from? The baker's. Cool. I'll start going to the baker's. Shit, now he's talking about something else. Biscuits, crisps, whatever. And slowly but surely, because you've hitched yourself onto that wagon, you are now allowing your relationship with food to be completely destroyed. You're allowing yourself to be food shamed. God, I feel terrible. I've been buying that all this time, and this guy said it's awful. Christ, what an idiot I am. There's such a dark side to nutrition. There's such a dark side to dieting. And thankfully, like, people don't get to see it. They see it from the front end. Like, they don't see, all you see is a guy on social media saying, this is shit. Come on, guys. This isn't food. This is shit. That's all you see. What you don't see is the damage being done behind the scenes. What you don't see is the thoughts going on behind people's eyes. I do, because in 6 months' time, I'm going to have a stream of people coming into the Monroe Method who have been a part of his group, who now have disordered eating, who don't know how to eat, who are terrified to eat processed foods because they think they're terrible, who can't afford to continue eating all this organic stuff that they were told to eat. Pisses me off, basically. Anyway, back to the relationship with food stuff. So, in fact, we'll wrap this one up because we're almost at 30 minutes. When it comes to improving your relationship with food, the pathway to doing that is to unwind, right? It's to rewind. So, like I said, when you were born, you've got no preconceptions around what's good, what's bad, what's healthy, what's unhealthy. It's taught to you. Then you do About It Slimming World, and you're taught that you can't eat bread twice in one day. You can't have oats and bread twice in the one day. You can't have avocado because it's 15 cents, and whatever other nonsense you pick up. And then you go to Weight Watchers and you switch over to points. And then that opens a whole new host of things. You can't have that because that's too many points. You can't have that. And then you go and you try keto, and you remove all the carbs from your diet because you're told that carbs are the devil. You don't need them. They're bad for your body. And, let's say you do that over a 5-year period. After that 5-year period, what are you left with? A completely disordered view around food. You've got sins in your head, free foods, healthy extras, points, carbs are the devil. You've messed yourself up from the approaches that you've tried to follow. And now you're 5 years away from where you once were. Like, your relationship with food wasn't great before, but now it's fucked. So how do you get back to that? It's just about unwinding it. When people come to work with me, like, even in this first 15-day period, we're going to do a lot of the important work in the first 15 days through a 15-day trial. So once we get to day 7, we'll do like a mini check-in. We'll find out about you and your diet history, and we'll start to shape what your time with us is going to be like. What do I need to work on with this person? What do they need the most help with? And I'll ask people to list their diet history because it gives me an indication of the thoughts that person is going to have, the type of relationship with food that person is going to have. If someone's only attempt at dieting has been at Slimming World, that's awesome because I know all the general things that we need to work on. When someone says they've done Slimming World, Weight Watchers, Herbalife, Cambridge Weight Plan, they've tried intermittent fasting, they've tried the Zoe diet, they've tried keto, that's when things are just getting completely out of hand. And rather than trying to tackle everything all at once and help someone improve the relationship with food all at once, you basically, during the time that you're checking in with them, you analyze the language. You look at what they're saying. You look at the way that they're answering questions. You look at their dietary balance. You can often tell a lot by someone's diet, because when someone is trying to lose weight, they generally have like a go-to way of doing that. So like I said with my mum's old go-to way was to start to remove fat from our diet, to go super low fat. And I can see that when someone's tracking calories, because I'll look at their nutrition page. It's like, right, you're in a calorie deficit, your fat's very high and your carbs are very low. So that tells me that person's got experience with going low carb, whether that's keto or just trying to go low carb in general. Or the opposite end of the scale, you'll have someone whose fat goes very, very low because they go through the low fat approach. So, it's very complex. People think that what I do is just calorie counting. It is so much more than that. We're always analyzing people, looking at their nutrition, looking at the things that they say, and we're trying to help them turn back the clock, unwind all the shit that they've learned, all the crap they've been told, all the nonsense they've picked up. And at each check-in that we do every fortnight, it's like, what's the biggest bang for buck move for this person right now? And we work on that. And that's how we fix these things. That's how we improve these things. That's how you get to a point where you can lose weight and keep it off for life. Not by trying to get to a number on a scale, not by trying to tackle all of your habits at once, but by picking that one thing and saying, right, we're going to work on this until your thoughts around that have improved, until you realize that sugar isn't the devil, that carbs aren't the devil, that processed food isn't going to kill you. We're going to fix that thing. Once you're in a good place with that, we're going to find the next thing that we need to work on. I did a talk. I did a live chat recently inside the Clan Monroe community, and it was about finding your bottlenecks. And I used the example that I used to work in a factory making slabs in monoblock, Marshalls and Falkirk. And one of the reasons I was good at my job was because I've got a good problem solving skills, good problem solving minds, where this machine, there was a way that you could get this machine to go as fast as possible. Right? Once you got to the point where the table turning was the choke point, the bottleneck, you were making it go as fast as possible. Once the whole machine was waiting on the table, that was it. It was running as fast as it possibly could, because the only thing to do next would be for them to put a bigger motor on the table to make the table go faster. If the table was waiting on the rest of the process, then you had to go back and say, well, what's the bottleneck? And in there, it was like, okay, is the cement coming out quick enough? Is the cement being filled into that bucket quick enough? Is that bucket door opening and closing fast enough? What's the thing that's slowing the process down? What's the bottleneck here? Because we all have explosive progress inside of us. We could all be losing weight consistently 1 to 2 pounds a week, every single week, but there's always something slowing that down. We have so much potential inside of us to do things, but there's always a thing that holds that potential back. And then it's a case of, right, well, what's the bottleneck here? What's the thing that we need to change to unleash some of that potential? I'll give you a great example. If you're looking at me on camera, you'll see here, this black thing here. That's a technology safe. I can switch that on, pop the door open, put my phone in there, and set a 6-hour timer and lock my phone away. So, for example, like if I have a big project to work on, I can say, right, what's slowing me down here? I'm looking at my phone every 5 minutes. I'm swiping the screen. I'm being distracted by notifications. Right. How do you fix that? You could switch your phone off, but you can always just switch your phone back on again. So I make it easy. I put it in here for 6 hours, gone. If I'm going to have a really big working day, I'll drop the kids off at school at 9, I'll come home and I'll put it straight in there until 3 o'clock. And I will focus entirely on work. If I get into the habit of checking emails regularly or checking a particular page regularly, I've got a software on my computer that I can use to lock these things down so that I don't do it if it's necessary. Not all the time, but things will come and go. Phone screen time might be an issue one week, it might not be an issue the next week. But it's about knowing what the bottlenecks are and then putting things in place to overcome them. And it's the same when it comes to weight loss, to dieting, to managing your weight, to weight maintenance in the future. What is the bottleneck? What's the thing that's holding me back? For a lot of people, it's alcohol. For a lot of people, it's the weekends. For a lot of people, it's emotional eating. So what's the thing? What's the biggest thing having an impact on me right now that's stopping me from moving forward? And it's the same with your relationship with food. Like, I want to have a great relationship with food, but I can't eat vegetables because I listen to this fucking idiot called Ashley Binns from Australia who told you to worry about the sugar in your carrots, the sugar in your lettuce. I don't even know if she's still a thing anymore, but she used to scaremonger around the sugar in vegetables. Can you fucking imagine that? How hard is it to get people to eat vegetables? Maybe you don't know. I know how hard it is to get people to eat vegetables. The last thing we need in the world is people getting influence arseholes with no nutrition qualifications, getting people riled up about things they shouldn't be riled up about. Yes, lettuce has sugar in it. So what? It's irrelevant. It also has fiber in it. It's not killing you. It's not people are not obese because of the sugar in the lettuce, the sugar in their carrots. Anyway, let's not go down that route today. So yeah, somebody wants to eat better. They want to live a healthy life. They want to improve their diet, but they've got an idiot on social media scaring them about something. So it's like, right, you need more education around this. Let me explain this to you, right? You do not need to worry about the sugar in your vegetables. Here's why. Awesome. Thank you, Jason. I feel much better after that. Cool. Let's chat again in 2 weeks and see where we're at. I'm eating more vegetables. Amazing. Great. But I'm kind of worried about sugar. There's quite a lot of sugar in fruit. Vegetables, I've got myself to a good place with that now. What about fruit? Again, you don't need to worry about it. Here's why. Awesome. And that's how we do it. We keep going. And then the next 2 weeks, vegetables, great. Fruit, great. My fiber intake's brilliant. I'm a little bit worried about protein because there's this guy saying you can only process so much protein. So, I don't want to end up like a bodybuilder. Cool. Let's do some education around that and help you overcome the protein thing. This is how you improve your relationship with food, right? This is how you turn back the clock. You unwind these things, you rewind them, you go backwards, and you fix each piece of disordered shite that you've picked up from idiots. Not all idiots, but many idiots throughout the years. Some of them are well-meaning idiots who think they're doing something helpful when they're really not. So yeah, hopefully that's helped come at the relationship with food thing from just one more angle. But we should all be aiming to get back to that food neutral point, right? Food neutrality is the goal. The ability to look at food and see it for what it is, food. Doesn't matter if it's chocolate, doesn't matter if it's an apple. It is all food that has a place in our diet, in our health, physical and mental health. Like, think about it this way. If you absolutely love chocolate, would it be healthy or unhealthy for you to never have chocolate ever again? Think about that, right? You absolutely love chocolate. So it's your favorite food in the whole world. Would it be healthy to deprive yourself of your favorite food in the whole world? Absolutely not. Would it be healthy to eat nothing but chocolate? Absolutely not. So it's about improving the way that you think about it and how you manage that in your diet so that you can enjoy a couple of squares of chocolate every single night of the week if you want to. And then it has a positive influence on your health, on your weight, instead of a negative influence because you have a couple of squares, feel bad about it because you think you've done something bad, then eat the whole bar and you do that every night. Anyway, if you're listening to these and you are not a member, it's time to come and join. It's time to come and have a trial. It's time to come and have your first 15 days. I will put a link in the description actually to take you straight to the page. I've rebuilt my website over the last couple of days. I'm still rebuilding it. But the important one's there. Come and have a trial, risk-free, no obligation to do anything. All I want is for people to come in, see the power and the value of what we do, because I know when I've done trials in the past, I've done it over a very short period. Like, I'm opening a trial for 3 days. You're all going to join. You're all going to start at the same time. 40 or 50 people come in. 30 to 40 of them stay. 70 to 80% of people stay on. So I know that if 10 of you come and join, 2 of you it won't be for you, or 2 or 3 of you won't stay. 7 or 8 of you will, because you'll realize the value of it once you've been a part of it. So hopefully I'll see you on the inside. If not, I will see you next week for another episode. Until next time.